Hey everybody, thanks for joining me tonight. So tonight we're going to be talking about dish soap. I'm Allison, your host for Tuesdays Are for Tips. Last week we talked about the placenta. Tonight we're talking about dish soap. So I promise I will make a connection between the two. I know they're not really connected, placenta's dish soap, but I'll make a connection, I promise. So when I started, hi everybody, when I started doing research for this video for tonight, I first went on Amazon and I wanted to, I wanted to find out what the largest, highest sale was for dish soap. So what I found, which I wasn't very surprised, was that Dawn Ultra was the #1 in sales on Amazon and for dish soap. And you have to think that represents a pretty good representation of the market and what the market is buying. So beyond Dawn Ultra, there was Mrs. Meyer's, Palmolive was up there, Gain, Ajax, and Seventh Generation were the ones that I noted. So I want to talk about, first of all, the ones that you're used to seeing, the ones that you probably grew up with on your counter. Maybe you still have on your counter, like Dawn, Palmolive, Ajax, and Gain. So these are the big box brands that you find anywhere and everywhere, that are kind of a staple, household staple. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to be referring to my notes a lot in this because there's a lot of kind of nitty gritty scientific evidence that I want you guys to be aware of, and I don't want to give you the wrong information. So the first thing I want to talk about is the word fragrance. So when you buy a product like dish soap or a cosmetic or toiletry, deodorant, etc., and you look on the back on the label and it says fragrance, put it back on the shelf and run far, far away. This term is not regulated at all by the FDA. This term fragrance could include anywhere from like 1,000 to 5,000 fragrant ingredients, whether they be natural or synthetic. So there's a loophole in US regulations for labeling that allows these manufacturers to pretty much put whatever they want under this fragrance umbrella. Why should you be concerned about this? Well, a lot of these fragrances can include phthalates. So phthalates are extremely carcinogenic, and they can be hidden under this fragrance umbrella. So according to the Environmental Working Group, the EWG, this company does a lot of testing on chemicals, letting you know their cleanliness, their environmental impact, etc. This is what they say about phthalates. Again, could be hidden under that fragrance umbrella that's on the back of your bottle in the ingredients list. This is what they say. It can trigger what's known as a death-inducing signaling in testicular cells. So this means that testicular cells can die earlier than they're supposed to. It can cause hormonal changes. It can cause low sperm count. It can cause less mobile sperm. It can cause birth defects in the reproductive system, in utero, obesity, diabetes, and thyroid issues, all from what makes your soap smell nice. So this is terrible because it's not regulated. The next thing I want to talk about is a chemical called phenothiethanol. So this is a common antimicrobial that you'll find in a lot of soaps, again, for fighting bacteria. The main irritations are harmful things are skin irritation, and it's also known to be a neurotoxin. The FDA has stated that this chemical compound can depress the central nervous system and can cause vomiting and diarrhea. Also, this chemical is found in Johnson & Johnson baby wash, which is awful because I don't know about you, but it's really hard for me to keep my kids' eyes closed and their mouth closed when I'm trying to rinse the soap out of their hair. And if they get this in their mouth, it's going to go into their bloodstream, and it could cause digestive issues, and it could be a neurotoxin in their brain, which could hinder brain development. This chemical is limited to 1% usage by the European Commission. It is not limited at all in the United States for how much they can use, that I'm aware of. The next thing I want to talk about is called, it's pretty terrible. The next thing I want to talk about is called sodium laureth sulfate, or SLES, and sodium lauryl sulfate. So there's laureth and lauryl, so SLES and SLS. These are your foaming agents. These are what give you 3 times the bubbles in your soaps. And what it does is it allows your cleaning liquid to get closer to the surface of what you're cleaning, so it can give you a closer clean. What it also can give you is skin irritation and allergic reactions. Those are the minor problems. It's also been found that SLS and SLES can leave residual amounts of chemicals on your brain, on your liver, on your lungs, on your heart, which can also lead to hormonal imbalance. I mean, all of these chemicals are leading to infertility. You wonder why 1 in 8 couples now experience infertility issues. SLS inside the body mimics estrogen, hormone imbalance. It's also been linked to eye irritation and eye development issues. So again, if you're giving your kids a bath and this gets in their eyes or in their mouth, it can really hinder the growth of their eye. That's not a good thing. Another big, terrible thing about these two chemicals is what they might be contaminated with. So the plants that manufacture SLS and SLES, sometimes these things come in contact with something called 1.4 dioxane, which is highly carcinogenic. The EPA has classified the 1.4 dioxane to be likely carcinogenic to humans, and it's registered on the California registry as been known to cause cancer. So this is a problem because these plants that manufacture these SLS and SLES are under no penalty to test for contamination, and they're under no penalty to prevent contamination. So unless the companies that are purchasing these chemicals from the manufacturers are doing their own third-party or in-house testing on them, you don't know if your product is contaminated with this cancer-causing chemical. So keep that in mind. The last chemical I want to talk about, I know we're getting really sciencey here, and there's a lot of really big words that I'm having difficulty pronouncing because I don't have a science degree. This one is a mouthful. It's called methylisothiazolinone. Wow, I'm blowing this. Methylisothiazolinone. There we go. 3rd time's a charm. This chemical is restricted to 0.01% in the European Union, not restricted in the United States. And it can cause respiratory and skin irritation and also trigger eczema. I've had eczema almost my whole life. My husband has eczema. My daughter has eczema. Who knows what it was caused from? It could have been caused from the chemicals that we used growing up, or something that she was exposed to that triggered it in her body. So those are the 4 things I wanted to talk about with your big brand soaps, like Dawn, Palmolive, Gain, Ajax. Most of these soaps will have these ingredients on their labels. Next, I want to talk about your clean dish soap. So you went to the store, you're thinking, okay, well, I know that, Dawn is terrible, and I know that Palmolive is terrible, so I'm going to buy Mrs. Meyer's. Mrs. Meyer's is a huge seller, especially in this area, because the branding is great. I mean, it has a really cute label on it, so it looks great on your countertop. It looks great in your bathroom, and you think it says aromatherapeutic on the label. Not a regulated term. All natural, eco-friendly, green, aromatherapeutic. Not regulated terms. They mean absolutely nothing other than their marketing ploys to get you to buy their product. So, if you look on the back of your Mrs. Meyer's bottle, you'll see that awful word, fragrance. they do not disclose what this means. So I did a little digging and I went on their website to see if they would tell us what that means. And when I clicked on fragrance, it opened up, which I was happy about because it actually said something. And it says this: it's a mixture of high quality essential oils and safe synthetic fragrance ingredients. Wow, is that vague? That can, again, literally mean anything under the sun could be included in their fragrance ingredient. They're not saying it's pure essential oil. They're not saying it's an all natural, earth provided scent. It could be a synthetic. So, synthetic fragrances today are pretty much known as secondhand smoke. You can pretty much treat it as secondhand smoke. Especially including perfumes. A lot of perfumes like your Givenchy, your Gucci, have synthetic fragrance in them. And according to the EWG, again, EWG, my best friend, 72% of products with the ingredient fragrance on the label contain endocrine disruptors called phthalates, which we have already talked about, which have been linked to diabetes, obesity, liver and breast cancer, hormone disruption. It can affect fertility and has been linked to ADHD and autism in first and third trimester prenatal exposure. So these things can affect your baby growing in your belly. And then lastly, with Mrs. Meyer's, it also contains that methylisothiazolinone that I was talking about that can cause respiratory issues and skin irritation and eczema. So the last soap I'm going to talk about, 7th generation, free and clear, contains SLS, bad for you, foaming agent. It can deposit on your organs, and it could also be contaminated by the 1.4 dioxane, which is hugely carcinogenic. And it contains methylisothiazolinone. So your clean store brand or your clean dish soap that you're buying in the store is not as clean as you think it is. So you really need to do your homework when you're using these dish soaps, because I wash dishes every single day. I'm being exposed to these things every single day. So I want to make sure that I'm using something that's not going to impact me negatively. So you need to look at the labels on your soap, on your shampoo, on your cosmetics, on your toiletry items. It is overwhelming, but start somewhere. Start somewhere, and that's really the best you can do, and work your way towards eliminating these toxins from your house. If not for yourself, then for your family. Because there's only so much you can control. We're exposed to chemicals all day, every day, and it's hard to not get overwhelmed with these things because there are so many things out of your control, like pollution, the things in your house, like your carpet, your paint, and formaldehyde treated wood, things like that. There's chemicals all around you that you can't necessarily get rid of unless you build your house from scratch and you have complete control over everything that goes into it. So start somewhere. Start with your dish soap. Like I was talking about, the FDA has banned 11 chemicals in the United States. There are always different chemicals under review, but obviously not many of them end up getting banned. The European Union Commission has banned over 1,400 chemicals, and they have regulated even more thousands of chemicals. Like I was talking about, some of the chemicals we spoke about, they regulate 0.1% or 0.01% usage, whereas we don't. Hi, Rosa. We don't do that here in the US. So what the European, home birth, how exciting. What the European Union Commission does differently that the FDA doesn't do is they look at the chemical and they look at not only the human impact, but also the environmental impact. So they will regulate chemicals based on the environmental footprint, which is great. They also look at the chemical and they don't allow it just because there's, scientific evidence behind it. They will not allow the chemical until there's scientific evidence proving that the chemical is not harmful. Whereas in the US, they will allow the chemical until it's proven that it's harmful, which is really weird and backwards. And so that exposes us to a bunch of stuff that doesn't get taken off the market until some company, some company decides to fund a bunch of studies that test this one chemical out of the 40 chemicals on your soap bottle to prove for toxicity levels. So the FDA has some catching up to do as far as limiting the toxins that are in our products. So let's get to your DIY dish soap here. This dish soap has 6 ingredients. Woo! So what you're gonna need, and I'm going to update my post on my profile that has my little soap bottle picture. It looks like this. I'm gonna update that post and edit it with this recipe in case you don't write it down. So what you're gonna need is Castile soap. Dr. Bronner's is the most popular brand, but there are a bunch of other brands of Castile soap, so if you want to look into that, that's up to you. Dr. Bronner's has various scented ones. This one is tea tree. I didn't know that I had sorry guys. This one is tea tree. So I wanted to do the unscented one. They do have an unscented one. It has a light blue label. It's called Baby, has baby on it. So you can use that if you want an unscented one. So you'll need a 1 1/4 cups of filtered water first, and then you'll need a 3/4 cups of Castile soap. Next, you'll need a teaspoon of baking soda. This is just Trader Joe's brand, but your Arm & Hammer brand will work just fine as well. Vegetable glycerin. This is this guy. What vegetable glycerin does is it helps oils and water mix. So this is really great because you're going to be adding your essential oils to your soap if you want to. I chose to add Jade Lemon and Thieves. It was a teaspoon of the vegetable glycerin, and then I added 6 drops of each of these guys, Thieves and Jade Lemon, which are huge with cleaning and purification. These are really great. I use these a lot in my house and on my body. So what do you do with these 6 ingredients? You put them in a jar with a spout, ideally. You shake it up and you use it. Easy. There's no boiling water, anything like that. You just put it in a jar and you use it. So you'll notice that this is very watery. If you find that you're having issues with, the soap running off of your bristle brush, either get a brush that has more bristles, more compact bristles, or you can also use a sponge or a washcloth. I personally haven't had any issues with washing with a scrubber brush, but I also have a sponge in the event that I want to do that. So if you don't want to DIY your soap, my favorite consumer soap is Thieves soap from Young Living. Their soap is free from SLES, like we talked about, free from dyes, formaldehydes, phosphates, parabens, synthetic perfumes, and other synthetic chemicals. And it has Thieves, bergamot, and Jade Lemon in it. So if you don't want to make your own soap, the Thieves one, in my opinion, is the best alternative for that. If you want to look up the chemicals that are in your soaps, you can go to the EWG website and they have a rating guide that you can look through, and you can type in the actual chemicals and it'll give you a rating on it. So that is our presentation for tonight. I hope you guys got some good information, and I hope I didn't overwhelm you with all of these scientific words that we were talking about, because it's really hard to differentiate what is okay and what isn't okay on the back of your bottle, because they all are scientific words and they don't put the layman's term on there typically. So do your homework and start somewhere. Start small. You don't have to throw everything out right away, like I said. Start with something that you use every day, like dish soap or toothpaste. And that's going to be it for today. I'm going to post this on my blog eventually when I figure out why my videos aren't uploading to it. And again, I'm going to edit that post on my Instagram profile that tells you what measurements to use for each of these things to help you if you want to make your own. So next week we're going to be talking about doulas. Yay! So back to pregnancy and birth next week. Same place, same time. I hope to see you guys there. Hi, Justin. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you guys have any questions, you can DM me or email me or go on my website or go on my Facebook. There are various ways to get a hold of me if you feel the need to communicate. All right, guys, have an enjoyable night. I will see you on the flip side. Bye-bye.